I mentioned Shelby Steele. I've quoted him often. He is a scholar at the Hoover Institute on the campus at Stanford. He is African-American, a very brilliant man, and very much to our benefit, a conservative. And his, one of the most recent pieces of his that I've come across is headlined, "The Perils of Political Correctness." And here's how he begins this piece. Societies have many of the qualities individuals have. America is a particularly great society. There's been no country like this ever before in all of human history, and he's exactly right about that. But see, that is actually one of the roots of the problem. The Democrat Party today, I was just sitting here, if I may make a brief departure. Well, I played this soundbite from the ABC News Roundtable. Here's Katrina vanden Heuvel, who is a radical leftist pro-communist sympathizer, is who she is. It is amazing to me how the extreme radicals of the left and the Democrat Party have become mainstream American political figures. She literally said that because Jeff Sessions' middle name is Beauregard, that Trump ought to be going easy on people like John Lewis and ought to understand that people are a little worried for race relations because Trump nominated a guy whose middle name is Beauregard. Now, who is the racist? Who is the racist pig in this situation? Who's the bigot? It would be Katrina vanden Heuvel. Who in the world thinks this way? But there she is, position of prominence on the ABC News Roundtable. It's insane. We're dealing with unhinged, deranged lunatics who are presented to us as mainstream American Democrats and liberals. They do not think this is a great country. They're even running around now carrying protest signs. America was never great. And they believe America was never great for one reason, slavery. And they think it's still in place, I guess. I mean, it's difficult to deal with these people rationally because they're not rational. Anyway, back to Shelby Steele here. America's a particularly great society. There have been no country like this ever before in all of human history, and all of the sins that America has committed in its past are nothing that's new. Many countries around the world had slavery and so forth, and it's still alive and well in many places. U.S. never gets any credit for eliminating it, for defeating it, for wiping it out. You ever ask yourself why that is? Never. Like I say, folks, I haven't seen the Democrats this unhinged since Lincoln freed the slaves, as a matter of fact. I mean, the Democrats were fit to be tied back when that happened. Well, they were the plantation owners. John Lewis, the dogs were set upon, and the fire hoses when they were marching across the Edmund Pettus Bridge in Selma. You know who was behind the dogs and the fire hoses? Democrats. I gotta rate it in here. I know I scare 24-year-old women, to whom passion is a very frightening thing. Bull Connor, who beat countless protesters, George Wallace, Lester Maddox, all these universities who had closed doors were in states run by Democrat governors. The Democrats were the segregationists. The KKK was the military arm of the Democrat Party back then. John Lewis was beat upside the head, his words, by Democrats, not Republicans, not people like Donald Trump. He was beat upside the head, and violence was committed against him and the other marchers by Democrats. We defeated slavery. We eliminated it. It still exists in many places, including in the Middle East, ladies and gentlemen. Anyway, nevertheless, writes Mr. Steele, having grown up during the Civil Rights era, America was brought to account for the sin of slavery, for its mistreatment of women, for all these things that white supremacy, in a sense, fostered. Still, we all live with the knowledge of this past tragedy and of the hypocrisy of it. I think that knowledge has generated in American life this need to be redemptive, to prove that we're not like that anymore. And so how do you show yourself to be redemptive? See, this is what I was trying to dig down, drill down, and find to explain Democrat behavior. And that is they're unable to forget that there was slavery in our past 200 years ago. And they think we still need redemption. Even though there isn't slavery now and hasn't been for hundreds of years, they are convinced that we still need to be redemptive, that we still need to prove that we aren't like that anymore. And so Mr. Steele says, how do you show yourself to be redemptive? Why, you keep deferring to those groups that are associated with that victimization, and you keep trying to give them things and use them as a vehicle for America's redemption. This is what I spotted when I ran into so many sports writers, so almost sympathetic. You know, a black person would get the job as a manager of a baseball team or a coach, and they would think it was one of the greatest achievements in their lives. And they would write pieces and profiles of, well, whoa, what? And what's the big deal there? I mean, not that I was opposed to it, don't misunderstand. I'm trying to understand why they are having a cow over it. And this explains it. They're still so imbued with guilt over something they didn't even do. And they are then so obsessed with the need to show people that they have no ties to any of that victimization that happened in the past, that they never were approving of slavery, and they still to this day aren't. And so what they do is defer, constantly defer to the groups associated with the victimization, and then keep giving them things. And the giving them things can be inclusive of never criticizing them, putting them on pedestals, allowing them to be and say and do whatever they want because they've got the right to, because they come from something that happened 200 years ago. And then this. One of the points that I feel very strongly about, writes Mr. Steele, coming as a black man, is that the deference that America has shown black Americans since the 60s with the war on poverty, Great Society of Welfare, those deferential policies that defer to our history of victimization now victimize us more than racism did. Let that sink in. We read this again. All of the great things America has done for African Americans since the 60s, war on poverty, Great Society, welfare, these policies that defer to our history as blacks of victimization, all of that now victimizes us more than the racism did. And it does. Not just victimizes, it stigmatizes. It's the soft bigotry of low expectations. It's the presumption that because there is this thing that happened to African Americans 200 years ago, it makes it today impossible for them to ever be full-fledged because they've got so many strikes against them. So it's a low expectations, the constant victimization, the stigmatization that they can't do anything without the help of liberals. And so we need these programs. And Mr. Steele is saying this is not helping us. This is not helping African Americans or any other minority. It's continuing to perpetuate the idea that we're prisoners and that we can't, of American society in general, not plantation owners anymore, but just the country itself. And we can't escape this penalty box we're in without the help of liberals, government programs, or what have you. He says, I grew up in segregation. I know exactly what segregation is like, and I had a more positive attitude toward America than many blacks do today, who are the beneficiaries of affirmative action. He says he was living during the days of segregation. He had a better outlook on his life than blacks today do after affirmative action. And he said, I think that deference has become a very corrupting influence on the people it tries to help. It's honorable that it wants to help these people, but they never ask the people to be responsible for their own transformation and uplift. And that's the great tragedy of deference and political correctness. And there again is the soft bigotry, low expectations. He's admitting it here. All of this assistance, whatever it is, affirmative action, Great Society, war on poverty, or the way John Lewis and others are allowed to be, do, say whatever they want, no matter how crazy it is, how wrong it is, because of something that happened to them that was horrible 50 years ago. He says, we are not asking the beneficiaries of all this political correctness or all these we're not asking them to step up and be responsible for their own transformation. Well, the reason that is because the left really doesn't believe it's possible. This is the problem. That's the soft bigotry below expectations. The left does not believe that there can actually be progress for blacks in America. When there is, when you come across a Clarence Thomas, what do they do to him? Shelby Steele gets the same treatment Clarence Thomas has gotten. When there are blacks who have escaped the plantation of affirmative action and liberal assistance programs, what does the left do to them? Calls them Uncle Toms, attempts to deny them anything they've achieved, claim that they have betrayed their people. They have betrayed the neighborhood. They have betrayed and are no longer down for the struggle. They're not allowed to escape it. This is the key. There still are plantation owners. They are Democrats. They are left-wing liberals, and they are demanding that victims of slavery continue to act like it's still happening today so that the left can get credit for caring and whatever else they want for supposedly trying to help. He's nailed it here. This is